MC Laubscher here, the host of the Cashflow Ninja podcast and also the president and chief wealth and investment strategist of Producers Wealth, where we help our clients integrate cash flow banking, also known as infinite banking, with their business and investments. If you're interested in learning more about how we create strategies that integrate cash flow banking and investments to turbocharge them, you can access a video series at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast sharing how to create income streams and manage, multiply, and protect your wealth in the new economy. Here is your host inside the dojo, MC Laubscher.
Hello, Cashflow Ninjas. MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have a great show for you today, and in today's show, I'm joined by Gerald Celente to track the top trends of 2018. Gerald Celente is a pioneer trend strategist. He founded the Trends Research Institute in 1980. He's the author of national bestseller Trends 2000 and Trend Tracking Far Better Than Megatrends, published by Warner Books. And of course, Gerald Celente is the publisher of the internationally distributed Trends Journal. For more than 3 decades, Gerald has built his reputation as a fearless teller of the truth, an accurate forecaster, and an analyst whose expertise crosses many arenas, from economics to politics, from health to science, and more. More importantly, Gerald is a pure political atheist, unencumbered by political dogma, rigid ideology, or conventional wisdom. Gerald's motto is think for yourself. He observes and analyzes the current events forming future trends, seeing them for what they are, not as what he would like them to be. As a doctor who gives his diagnosis after gathering the facts, whether or not you like the prognosis doesn't alter the outcome. It's simply what is. And while Gerald holds a United States passport, he considers himself a citizen of the world.
Are you an investor looking for passive cash flow but don't have the time to explore your options? Discover real estate. It's the best option for passive income that savvy investors have been turning to for years to generate income and build wealth. But the reality is, real estate investing takes expertise, market knowledge, and time. So what do you do if you don't have the time or market knowledge? Discover how many business investors have found a way to generate cash flow from real estate investing. Their secret? They partner with proven private real estate investment funds. Four Peaks Capital Partners have created a system that allows accredited investors the opportunity to invest in undervalued assets to generate passive income and capital gains. Invest with the cash flow experts and sit back while Four Peaks does all the work. Call Four Peaks Capital Partners at 877-5-INCOME. That's 877-5-INCOME, or go to privateincomeinvesting.com. An offer to buy or sell securities is only made by a private placement memorandum. Prospective investors must read the PPM in its entirety before making an investment decision.
What if we could see what is lying ahead as an individual, as a family, as a business owner, as an investor, as an entrepreneur, looking at the trends ahead? What would the value and the power of that be? Joining me again on the show, I'm honored to have on is Mr. Gerald Celente from the Trends Research Institute. They publish a phenomenal journal, the Trends Journal, that comes out quarterly. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Celente, there's another one ahead. It is August, so I was excited for the release. Mr. Celente, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, MC. No, actually, now it's since 1991, it was a quarterly, but beginning in July, now the Trends Journal is a monthly. So the Trends Journal, we do trend alerts each week, Trends in the News broadcasts, weekday nights, and other platforms as well.
And one of the benefits as a subscriber that you do get is these trend alerts. As you mentioned, you sent one out today. So I figured that might be a great place for us to start because it kind of ties into the economy and global markets. What are you seeing out there? And Trend alert today, economic terror strikes to sink markets. Can you share a little bit more with my listeners about that?
Sure. What the United States is doing is putting sanctions on nations such as Turkey, Iran, Russia. And you listen to the comments from the prime minister of Russia or the president of Turkey, and they're calling it economic warfare. And that's what it is. There's military warfare, cyber warfare, and economic warfare. And it's destabilizing global markets. It's what these are trigger points. For example, we've had rising interest rates in the United States since February. And that's what brought the Trump rally into correction territory briefly. And it also destabilized other markets because the dollar is getting stronger as interest rates are rising. And what you're looking at are some $40 trillion worth of debt that the emerging markets have taken on since the end of the Great Recession. So how do they pay back that debt? Well, a lot of it's in dollars. So as the dollar gets stronger and their currencies get weaker, they have a lot of problems because their debt just increased. For example, what you have in Turkey, you're looking at the Turkish lira is down 45% against the dollar. So just in corporate debt, they have about $300 billion worth. They have to pay it back. Now they have to pay it back with more money of a declining economy. Then go around the world. They just raised interest rates 5 percentage points on Monday in Argentina. I mean, the United States is what they raise interest rates, 25 basis points and over several months and years. And so what happens? You have an inflation rate in Turkey of 100%. Yeah, there's just this year, you have an inflation rate over there in Argentina, 30%. You're looking in Iran, their real is declining rapidly, hitting new lows against the dollar. So this is causing destabilization worldwide. So it's not only what the sanctions are, those are like wild card events that make a bad situation worse. And again, you could go country after country, the Indian rupee, all-time low against the dollar. Well, what does that mean? So it's an all-time low. Well, they don't have a lot of dollar debt. No, but don't they, 80% of their energy is imported? And what's that energy based in? Dollars. So now, as their rupee goes down, as oil prices go up, they have to pay more. You're looking at a global slowdown. Look what's going on in China. New numbers just came out. Investment in China, asset investment in China is down now to 1999 levels. Retail sales are down. So as the dollar gets stronger, it's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of these economies. And these sanctions are just another form of warfare that's making it worse.
We have equity prices that's very, very high. And then also on the home side, we've seen a lot of home prices and home recoveries. If we look at an affordability index, I saw the other day, we're close to back to where we were in 2008. What are some of the things that you're seeing around the equity market here in the United States? And then also home prices in the States, because these are two places that the majority of people have all of their savings and their wealth.
Well, on the home front, you're seeing mortgage applications continue to decline as interest rates go up. And you're also seeing a lot of people not being able to afford homes. Only the higher end ones are selling, high end to mid-high end. So, I mean, they're all selling, but not at the lower end because there aren't that many on the market available on the lower end. So do we see a readjustment in housing prices? If the economy goes down, of course there will be. But we only see it as a temporary down. I've been in this business a lot of years, and one of the things that I got wrong a number of times was thinking that when a crash came, housing prices would stay down. But they don't. And it's a supply and demand issue. And you're looking at numbers now in the United States, for example, well over 60% of the renters say that they wish that they could afford to buy homes and not rent, but they just don't have the money for down payments. So we will definitely see a vast correction in the housing market. But over the long term, the prices just keep going up. They may even stay down for a few years, but over the longer period, they're back up. And again, on the housing front, it's definitely supply and demand. There's not enough supply, and there's not enough demand at this time to keep pushing them up much higher. So we're seeing a leveling off already when you're watching new mortgage applications starting to decline in the States.
Another area that you guys have put out some amazing information about was the cryptocurrencies. What do you see currently, what's going on within the crypto space and in the crypto markets?
Long term, we believe there's going to be the crypto markets. We're bringing on analysts that do more of the chart work. And in that field, they're saying that they've peaked and that they have more downward correction to go. Interestingly, however, we're seeing what happened with the gold market. And we had been saying now for several months that gold was going to go to the 1,200 level. Well, it's gone below that now. So we think gold is now nearing its bottom, and it has a better upside than a downside. However, you're also seeing interest going back into the crypto market as the global stock markets are going down. So it's interesting, and it's really hard to say where the cryptos are going. It's a new market. People call themselves experts, and charts do have their valuable asset to them, but it's so volatile out there. But we believe long-term cryptos are here to stay, and others don't. And the reason we're saying that is because the whole world is going digital. When you pay for items, for example, in China, you put your app up. You're not attached to the yuan. And so as more countries go digital, there's less of a holding on to the currency of the realm. And also what's important in the whole digital aspect is, again, that it's new. And it's really a fight against the fiat currencies in many fields. So the current fiat currencies are going to be under more and more pressure, and people, as they're losing the value in their countries and can't afford to buy gold, for example, they may say, rather than losing all my money as I'm watching my currency deflate, I'm going into cryptos. So that's another alternative that we believe needs to be observed closely.
And leads to mobility. I'm just thinking with family in South Africa, and they're one of the countries that's seeing quite a bite to their currency right now in the global markets. So there would be a lot of interest for that. And as you mentioned, Mr. Celente, it's still early days. I remember the internet at the beginning when you downloaded a picture or try to click on something. I mean, it took ages for that picture just to upload, right? And this was back to dial-up internet. So it's almost a similar kind of story where there's a lot of things that needs to be sorted out. And this is kind of a very early stage for this developing technology.
Yeah, you really nailed it. Exactly. So, go back to the 1990s, 1994. The computers were so slow. You had the disk drive. You had to put a disk in. Yep. And, so it's a whole different world. Trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. And when we look at the internet trend, it's only a teenager in real life. And when you look at the crypto trend, it's still in its infancy. So again, we're trying to look at it from different angles, from the chart perspective, that we have someone that does it for us, Mr. Cho, and on the trends level that we do, looking at it from another direction. He's much more negative in the sense of crypto growth than we are. And his chart work has been valuable and pretty accurate to date.
You're listening to Gerald Celente on the Cashflow Ninja podcast. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Life settlement investments have allowed financial and banking institutions to not only buy their equity contractually, but also diversify their capital from any economic, market, and geopolitical risk. It's been part of the billion-dollar blueprint followed by institutional investors. And if you're an accredited investor, you can also now participate in this vehicle with enormous growth potential. You can watch an informational webinar presented by one of the premier organizations providing life settlement investments, Penumbra Solutions, at cashflowninja.com/life settlements. Blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies will not only disrupt money, but every industry on the planet. These new innovations and technologies will affect every area of your life in the future. The cryptocurrency course teaches you everything that you need to know about getting started and profiting with cryptocurrencies, and includes expert training from the top crypto experts in the world. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies, how to safely store your crypto, how to become a sound investor, even if you're just a beginner, and how to apply blockchain technology to your business. You can watch a free crypto masterclass and grab the crypto course at cashflowninja.com/crypto course. You're listening to Gerald Celente on the Cashflow Ninja podcast, and now back to our interview. Another thing that ties into is the technology of blockchain technology, and I want to touch on this a little bit too, because there is a lot of platforms, social media platforms right now that we're seeing the how can I say this, the hand of control moving in, and a lot of folks getting actually deplatformed. Alex Jones at InfoWars is one of them. I saw that Stefan Molyneux, that has a very large philosophy show, one of the biggest on the internet, talks about very, very controversial subjects such as peaceful parenting and so forth. He's been getting some strikes against his, where blockchain offers a decentralized platform, for instance, like Steemit, offers an alternative where voices and the marketplace will decide, the popularity of certain folks.
Well, this whole thing about censorship is disgusting. I've been on Alex Jones hundreds of times. I hosted the show on Monday, and he's always let me say what I wanted to say. And he provides, he has his ways about him, and we're on different pages on a number of issues. But to censor him is an outrage. He's always been a gentleman with me, and I've watched his show many times. Some of the things, they're not acceptable in some realms. But how about Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al Qaeda? How about the propaganda being promoted daily by the mainstream media? Propaganda is proper, but if you don't believe in the BS that they're shoving down your throat, then you're a conspiracy theorist. So it's really disgusting what's happened with this censorship, and more so that there's hardly any complaints about it. There should be massive complaints about it. And taking your position on blockchain, yes, that to think that we have Facebooks and Googles and Amazons and just a few companies in the whole internet world, whether it's online purchasing or online watching or online social media, that are monopolizing is disgusting. And it's, people, there's a new study that just came out in the United States where most young people prefer socialism over capitalism. This isn't capitalism. It's fascism. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. Low-life SOBs that gave us too big to fail couldn't make it clearer. In capitalism, there's no such thing as too big to fail. You rise and fall on your own merits. So this is fascism. It's fascism and monopolies that control the government. End of story. Because if this was capitalism, there'd be outrage against the censorship going on and the unfair monopolization that has given the bigs the benefits to do what they want. So blockchain technology is definitely an answer, and it's a real entrepreneurial opportunity for a new direction, because people would abandon their Facebooks and their Googles just as they're abandoning the established political parties in a country near you.
I think a lot of people have learned a valuable business lesson out of this too, because they built up massive companies on Facebook, for instance, and they have YouTube channels, and then all of a sudden Facebook changes the algorithms, and now now you have to pay extra basically just to have people that subscribe to your page actually see what you're trying to put out there in your feed, right? So it's very important to look at the sources of where your traffic comes from as a business owner, and I know my listeners will probably be able to relate to this as well, and strategically look at areas that you can control, and it isn't hanging on a Facebook or a YouTube that all of a sudden does one thing and now you're in trouble.
Yeah, and again, it's the trend of what they're doing. They're robbing us of our freedom. It's freedom of speech. It used to be, one of the amendments of the Constitution, and now it's been censored from us.
Now, a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about, and this might tie into a little bit too of the merger of state and corporate powers. You spoke about the driverless cliff of these driverless vehicles going one way, and then we see a lot of things now with Tesla and with Elon Musk out there in his company as well. A lot of folks are looking at it and saying, this is truly unsustainable and purely supported by government funds, right, and taxpayer subsidies. What are you currently seeing within that trend and in that industry?
Well, on the driverless front, we think it's a fraud. We're not going to have driverless cars. I mean, what world are these people living in? They're living in geek world and Silicon Valley world. I mean, who's out on the road and sees what goes on? People, in a hurry to go here and there, massive traffic. What, are you just going to sit there like a dummy and let somebody take you around? We're going to have driverless from point A to point B, like you go in an airport and get on the shuttle and it takes you one stop to another. But other than that, on mining sites, you're going to have it on that kind of thing as well. There'll be driverless, maybe even driverless buses at some point, and driverless trucks going from point A to point B. But to think that this whole driverless is going to happen is the same fraud as the electric vehicles. I mean, they're what, about 1 or 2% of all the cars being produced in the world. So it's a long way to go because you're looking at a technology in electric that was basically invented in 1800 and hasn't changed a lot since, the battery. So until there's a major development that brings it to a whole nother level, this isn't going very far. It's more talk than action. And you're looking at China. They're pumping tens of billions into it because they have an environmental problem into electric, and even giving the people incentives to buy the vehicles, and they're barely moving in any kind of direction that accounts for any percentage that's worthwhile to look at.
One of the top trends that you were discussing and that I had a conversation with you about earlier this year was branding the Come Together brand, of actually bringing it together. What are some of the developments that you've seen on that trend?
Nothing. We talk about how back in the 70s, they had a great Coca-Cola ad. This is 1970s, the Vietnam War, social unrest. And they brought a commercial out, I'd like to buy the world a Coke, dun, 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 dun. They took a song out there, and they took that song and they turned it into a commercial, live in perfect harmony. It was a huge success, went international. You don't see anybody working to bring the people together. It's not only the divided states of America, it's a divided state of most of the countries around the world. So for people that are in business is to sell unity. And right now we're just being separated more and more, whether it's, you name the movement, it's identity politics rather than we're all in this together. How can we get out the best way we can? So for marketers and entrepreneurs to understand this, it's a great opportunity that virtually no major firm or minor ones that I know of are taking advantage of it.
And would certainly be very, very powerful, because I was just thinking, as you're saying, how divided the world is, really. Pick a country. There's a lot of there's a lot of tension between a lot of different groups. And this is where we're supposedly still in an area and at a stage where markets are at all-time highs. Home prices are back, for instance, in the United States. People feel that they have money again in their retirement plans, in their homes, and so forth. So the alternative to that would be not having it, and that would tie into more tensions in my view. So it's definitely something that business owners could look at to unite people and drive them forward. And talking about all the things that we do enjoy and that we all have in common, rather than focusing on everything that we have differences about.
Yeah. I want to make another point. You mentioned about blockchain. One of the trends that we're looking at is called blockchain democracy. And what blockchain democracy is that, for example, in the United States, you have a Congress, senators and a House of Representatives. They don't represent me. They represent the multinationals, the people that give them money. Morons, imbeciles, and people believe the crap that teachers shove down their throat when they're in school, call it campaign contributions. Adults with a brain bigger than a pea call it bribes and payoffs. That's all they represent, are the people that bribe and pay them off. No greater example than a one-party system than in the United States, where they just passed one of the biggest defense budgets by far, $716 billion, and 41 Democratic senators voted for it. Only 7 voted against it. 139 in the House of Representatives voted for it, 49 against it. So blockchain democracy, they don't represent me. On major issues, we the people should be able to vote. They don't, again, the same thing with blockchain democracy. They're worried about the Russians hacking into the system. And you mentioned, and just not only you're mentioning it, but we all know it, the efficiency of blockchain technology and how it's being used by major corporations around the world. Once that transaction is made, it's blocked. You can't hack into it. So what blockchain democracy means is that we can do away with these antiquated systems of going to polling places, and we could vote online. It's not going to be hacked. You can open up the algorithms to everyone. And it's much safer than these crude systems that they have now that are always being hacked, and they're always being not only hacked, but manipulated often in a country near you. So that's another big trend that we see that could really make a big difference when the people's voice is heard, rather than the politicians who get paid off by the corporations and others to push through what they want to have. And again, when you look at the opioid crisis in the United States, all you have to look at is how the politicians sold us out and let these people pump these. They're drug cartels. People call them big pharma. Grow up. They're big pharma. They're big drug cartels. And they're paid off. They pay the politicians off to do what they want them to do. So that is a big trend that can happen anywhere in the world. And we're going to be writing about that also in the August Trends Journal that will be out actually tomorrow.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think a lot of people started waking up and seeing, boy, somebody just left political office and they are getting paid $750,000 to make a 30-minute speech. Well, that doesn't seem really right. There's something missing there. So we have the elections coming up. Final question for you. Is there any wild cards in the elections in the midterms? What do you think it has in store for us?
Yeah, the wild card that we're forecasting is that Trump is going to make peace with North Korea. It'll actually happen. And the Afghan war with the United States involvement in it. And that to us is going to be the wild trump card that is going to be very positive for the Republicans. So we see that coming because now, again, I'm in trend forecasting business. I've been at this since 1980. And you can see the change of attitude coming in the media. That's I follow the media worldwide. And you're seeing now more and more coming out in the States about the continual losses in Afghanistan to the Taliban and hints of peace. So we believe there's going to be serious peace talks evolving and a peace treaty of sorts, even as it's an armistice, that's going to stop America's involvement, not only in North Korea and in Afghanistan, but also in Syria. And what Trump is going to do is the one thing, well, he hasn't done a lot of things, but one thing he kept bragging about he was going to do was rebuild our rotted infrastructure, the third world American infrastructure that we're suffering through. And we believe he's going to take a platform from my Occupy Peace program, and that's the Work Progress Administration from 1930s. We call it the Troops Progress Administration. And they're going to take the troops and put them to work rebuilding our infrastructure. So that's the wild card that we see happening.
Mr. Celente, thank you so much for coming on again and sharing your knowledge and sharing all these trends and your views with my listeners. Where can listeners reach out to you? Where can they follow you? And where can they learn more about the great work that all of you are doing at the Trends Research Institute?
Well, trendsresearch.com, trendsresearch.com, or Trends Journal. And again, it's the only place, money back guaranteed, where you'll read and hear and watch history before it happens.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MC.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the United States. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Learn how to find the best deals by downloading your free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Passive Real Estate Investing at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
Thank you for joining me again on the Cashflow Ninja. Thank you for all your support. You rock. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes and share our show with family, friends, and your network. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can sign up for our newsletter at cashflowninja.com or text Cashflow Ninja to 44222. I'm also posting daily videos on Facebook and YouTube and will live stream weekly starting May 2018. To make sure you don't miss any of the live streams, please like and subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube platforms. I'm also dropping content on Instagram daily. Be sure to follow us on Instagram to get in on the action. I want to thank you for spending your most precious resource with me today, your time. That's our show for today. Until next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.